Hello, Jonas.
Hi.
Hi guys.
Hey Jonas, is it too early for the California guys? 6 a.m.
Yeah, I think so. Well, Alex said he had a meeting as well with a customer. So,
Okay.
but did it move now?
Yeah, it's I think they moved this Sunday, right? So
No, no,
it's
I'm
6.
saying for you, did it move? Because it's anchored in U.S. time zone, I think. So it probably is a
Yeah,
hour
it moved
earlier for
1
you.
hour, 1 hour earlier, 1 hour earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think yeah, for the U.S. it was always at 6 a.m. Pacific time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, so we'll see how many make it. Uh, Mosu is here, so that's good. We can get some coverage on the composition services, and we also have you, Bharat, for the telemetry.
Yeah.
If so, yeah, we can have at least some discussions, right? Give
Hello,
it
hello.
a hello, hi Mosu, and we will also, I think, Rafal accepted. Last meeting, Mosu, you went over the telemetry service and the assumptions and stuff, right? And
It was Bharat.
oh yeah, sorry, Bharat. And then I guess we got into some bigger discussions with Alex about telemetry in general. And Alex is not going to make it today, but I was thinking there is another problem, and that is the scalability. How can we deal with that? And is that something we can start discussing? Or
Yeah. I think yeah, scalability is the bigger issue right now.
yeah, because I do think we can implement the telemetry service as is today defined, and then we can work with DMTF to enhance it, right? But scalability will be a problem.
Yeah. I think the main issue is like the load that will be there in the plugins, but to some extent we can mitigate by having a separate data collector like Alex mentioned. But as I was telling last time, if the collection, say suppose even if you're collecting data for in say 5 minutes or 10 minutes, we're supposed to report out to the northbound. But if the collection on the BMC itself, it's like sub-second and all, I don't think we can scale at all. It's going to be a huge ask. But if the BMCs themselves allow such definitions to be configured, then we don't have a, I mean, I think it's just one request we send out in say 10 minutes or so, and that's kind of okay. But then, yeah, you're saying something?
No, I just want to try to understand what you're saying. So you're saying if the BMC would do the collection itself and store it, then we just ask it to send out the reports, then you
Yeah.
would have a good scalable solution, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
So, but like not all BMCs will allow you to configure that, right? So if they give out their own thing, then we only benefit if it is matching our northbound users requirement.
Yeah, that's. I guess the BMCs we have looked at, they have some capabilities and some frequencies, but they also cannot retain data for a longer period of time, right?
Yeah.
Rafal is here as well. Yeah, good. How do you think about, even though, let's say all the BMCs have the capability of sending reports at a certain frequency, Do you think we can still reuse the message bus that we have today, or do we need to set something up in parallel, specifically targeting metrics? Uh, Bharat, do you?
Yeah,
Do
I thought you're talking to Rafael.
yeah, no, I said, yeah, it's good to hear. No, but I'm saying, do you see any? I mean, there's one problem with us having to query for the metrics from a plugin all the time. That's obviously not scalable, right?
Yeah.
But even if we don't have to, let's say the BMCs are themselves storing the data, and then we can, if they have a telemetry service, we can ask them to send a report at a specific time. Then still, there's going to be a lot of reports sent out. Current implementation of the event of the message bus handle that, or do we need something in parallel?
Um, if you take bare Kafka, I think there shouldn't be much issues because it can handle much more messages.
Hmm.
But the main issue I see is like, getting all the metrics wanted from the BMC natively.
So that is besides the scalability issue. It's more like what metrics are supported by that BMC.
No, if the BMC is able to export those reports, having those metrics, then we are good. But if it is not capable of generating those reports, however, we can get the data independently, then we're constrained because the plugin polling that data in every interval, and then there are, see, what happens is like, see, if we are having a metric that's been collected every, say, 20 seconds or 10 seconds over a period of 10 minutes, then the reports will have metrics like standard, average, max, min, power consumption, stuff like that. But if you're doing the collection of the same, from the plugin, then we'll have to have a higher frequency than 10 minutes to be able to report out the average, max, min. Right? So in that terms also, we can't poll so frequently to the devices.
Yeah, yeah. So that is a problem. I agree. But what about the other issue I see is that different vendors will support different type of metrics in their implementation of the telemetry service. So how do you tie that all together to a common experience on the northbound side?
Yeah, that is something which I had mentioned, right? Like we may have to paste the telemetrics of metrics of the aggregation service or something, because the telemetry URI as is currently, from a manager perspective, we will not be able to distinguish on which BMC that has to be collected from. No?
Hmm. Yeah, we can't. There is nothing like profile for metrics where we can say that you need to support these metrics.
Yeah, not just that, even subscribing or for such information is a bit clumsy, right? Because how do I say that, say this collection of devices, I need this metric and another set of metrics for another collection, or that kind of
Yeah,
granularity is lost. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. This is. I don't know if we can. What we can do here initially, because if yeah, on a plugin level, it's going to be a nightmare. If you say you support 5,000 servers, and now you're going to start pulling metrics.
Yeah. So, but if say like if we go with if we standardize on the telemetric interface at least, and ensure that the plugins are able to bridge the gaps. So if the devices themselves, whatever metrics and reports they can generate, I was thinking at least that delivery mechanism, if we freeze, right, I mean standardize, then we can progress on that. As in like the northbound's ability to subscribe for reports, um, define metrics, report definitions, and then trigger points for report, how they're delivered, like redfish events, or they poll for it, or on a trigger it based on a condition. Um, so those things, if we work out, I think we can roll out the initial interface with ODIM and plugins.
Hmm.
But yeah, then the next thing would be to have another action perhaps through the aggregation service, um, which allows us to uh, specify a set of servers where we need the metrics from. Not necessarily, say suppose uh, if in a data center there are some critical servers which may be just 50 to 100, even though they have 5,000 servers, and if the user can say that these 50 critical servers, these are critical for my this X application, say vRAN or whatever. So if you could just at least prioritize this and get the data, then that kind of use case can be driven. Otherwise, what lab
Yeah,
is
go ahead.
we will have to try the general telemetry interface with all the devices, and if they don't allow a particular operation, we'll have to send a error back.
Mm. So you think that you would set up the whole metric collection or subscription from the aggregation service rather than using the telemetry service itself?
Yeah, because we have the flexibility, right? We can say that I want it from X servers, but not all.
Yeah,
Because at 5,000, say, as you said, if I were to try to collect telemetry from all 5,000 in the same standard way, then there'll be issues.
yeah, yeah. That's not going to work. So, because if you look at the event service, there you subscribe to events from many different servers or resources. Just using the event service, you don't use the aggregation service. I was thinking you could do something similar on the telemetry service, but that thing doesn't have any support for multiple servers, right?
Yeah, but in that case, what see, we are using the um, origin of resource for setting up that, right? So that will have the system
Mm,
information. The
yeah.
second thing is in the event service case, we are guaranteed that the BMC itself will publish the events, whereas in telemetry, we may have to potentially um, probe for data, poll for data. We may not get the, if we do get the event for the matching metrics, then it's very good, but otherwise there'll be a lot of performance issues.
Mm. So if you were to describe the initial telemetry service that we could implement in ODIM, what will be the features as an initial
I would
attempt?
say implement at least the redfish standard requests, like metric creation, metric definitions, and report definitions, and whatever operations are supported by the device, that will go through. But if they're not, then we send back an error.
Should we put down a demand on the plugin side, or is that up to each plugin vendor that the end device has to support the metric, oh, sorry, the telemetry service?
We can put that, but the vendors themselves implementing it and giving support is not in our hands, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Guys, can you hear me?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Now,
Rafael.
I was not actively engaged because I was commuting with my daughter from kindergarten, and I just wanted to maybe chime in to this telemetry stuff. First of all, the telemetry framework, I believe in ODIM we should build around some POPs hub message bus telemetry spout, be it Kafka or any other, right? Different problem is how we harvest from the BMC. I completely agree with Bharat and Jonas on the limitations. The first and very basic approach, because I don't believe that, okay, first of all, we can push the MTF to augment the definition. I agree that the definitions are clumsy for the, let's say, metric definitions, or how this is very flexible, but at the same time, anyone can come up with its own data model for telemetry in Redfish, and this is not well consumable by ODIM. But we could come up with some stage approach. We, let's say, invest in the telemetry framework in a way that we, let's say, store the metrics within the ODIM, and then we could use inefficient method of pooling using the, let's say, REST interface of the properties, right? And we could probably focus on very basic properties like, CPU utilization or the temperatures from the DMTF, whatever is well defined, because some of the metrics, as you all know, that the, let's say, metric definition can be defined for any arbitrary metric, be it physical or maybe just some calculated metrics as well. But Intel and other companies has, let's say, come up with the standard definitions. The example could be processor metrics, the memory metrics. I think these are two endpoints which are well defined, and we could just pull from those with some interval which is manageable by ODIM, right, using the generic Redfish plugin, and then store it in the message bus. As for the starters, the long time, I believe we need the metric reports to be implemented in BMCs, possibly the, let's say, triggers, because you can put a trigger on the telemetry, on the temperature or any other metric, and then you only notified. It's like event notification, right? You get notified whenever it just crossed the threshold you defined. It will be less probably impacting the performance of both BMC and ODIM. Uh, there are areas though which are very important, like the temperatures. The Redfish has like two different approaches. First, this was this legacy endpoint of the, let's say, power and thermal under chassis, where you can have the set of voltages, set of temperatures, fan speeds, and all that stuff. And then there's this new model which has this metric definition where you point to the JSON pointer of the specific metric on your service. And I think those are like two different approaches, right? These metric definitions are new, scalable, let's say, but maybe not well defined. And then you have this fixed telemetry that was used in the past, like the temperatures. And what we tried in RSD is like we try to merge this new approach. So we have this metric definition pointing to the old legacy, telemetry temperatures, for example, on the chassis thermal. But what we need is support for gRPC at some point, and this was multiple times in talks with the DMTF Redfish forum, such as we can have some more performant interface than just the REST JSON interface. But
So
yeah,
Rafal,
I
I
think the
had a
framework is one thing. Yeah, go ahead.
so sorry, I had a question. Like, say in the report definitions, it's not very clear. Like the samples that are available, they're only like one category of metrics, right? Can I have a report which combines the URIs, like as you said, thermal and all that from different schemas, and then present it as a one report? Is it possible to define like that as per Redfish?
Yes, per Redfish it is allowable, although you're right, Bharat, there's no, if you have different refresh, let's say refresh intervals for specific metrics, right? It means that hardware can, fetch them with different frequency. The metric, let's say, report, I I don't think it handles this case. It's just, okay, you can define the report consists of the n number of metrics, and whatever the current value of those metrics are on the BMC, you will get this in your report extract, right? But there's no guarantees on the time that also was captured and whether it's all synchronized within the same moment in time.
No, yeah, but the actual question I asked was, say, like, can I have a report defined that gives thermal, power, and voltage, whatever, like mix of all the metrics from across?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
This is my understanding based on the
Yeah,
various.
you can create your own report and elect the metrics, but I haven't seen any
can mix and
vendors
match.
supporting that. Yeah, but there is no vendor supporting that right now. It seems to be off-the-shelf reports that you can use, and that's it.
But
Okay.
by the way, Jonas or Bharat, are you aware of the, let's say, implementation of BMC which supports the metric reports and metric triggers already?
Is that OpenBMC or what are you talking about?
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Are you saying that this is who has implemented that? Is that
No, I'm asking, do you know specific implementation that already
no?
support the metric reports?
No,
Oh
no.
yeah,
Because
I
I
mean
don't.
both
And
both
this,
Dell and HPE does, right? Do. But it's off the shelf. I mean, they have standard reports. Those are documented. So you can't put your own report together. You can just say, I want to subscribe to this report, and you will get it with an event. But it's a predefined report that you have no way of delete or edit or anything.
okay. Okay, so it's not like the full flexibility as DMTF Redfish came up with, which is you create, you post your own metric report, and then the hardware is just applying to your template. It's just you have the fixed reports that are available. You can just use them or not.
Yeah, unfortunately, and I think that's what we want to see in ODIM is that you can define your own report to at least eventually, and your own metrics.
Yeah.
The issues here is across vendors. So only so many metrics will be supported by all vendors, right?
So maybe, Jonas, and this is just food for thought. Maybe we should live with the existing, limitations, right? Let's suppose we use Dell and HP as an example, and they both support the metric reports defined, by the hardware. There's no question about it. But if we have some layer in the plugin layer for the respective hardware, which can enable the harvest of the reports, and as they pushed from the BMC to the ODIM, it will just fetch them and just put on the message bus, right? And of course, this is probably different set, but if we could identify the superset and working with telemetry, I think we should start, small, just handful of the metrics at the beginning, and make some meaningful use of it, other than just get everything we can, because as we know, the BMCs are not very compute heavy, so to support lots of data, and then the limitations of an interface as well.
That is actually a suggestion that is very sensible, I think, and we should be able to implement it. And the question is, I think we can even actually we need to move to gRPC and something in the end, but we could probably even use the current Kafka bus to just send along those messages, right? Those events.
Yep.
So Jonas, like
And
then we
when
can
we designed the
yeah,
go ahead,
Rafa, go
Bharat.
ahead.
I'll be next.
So then we can just restrict ourselves to the canned reports available now, right? From both HP and Dell, which seem to be the main two platforms. Anyway.
Yeah, that's what I heard from Rafal, and I kind of like that because it's a very easy first step.
Yeah.
Yep, we could influence DMTF Redfish for no question about it, but the moment it goes down to the hardware, to the implementation in firmware, it is the long, cycle. So let's do something with whatever is available now, and let's influence standards in the meantime.
Yeah, that makes perfect
sense. And Jonas, you were
sense.
talking about the profile for the, let's say, ODIM compatibility profile, which we at some point we need to probably continue discussion. We could, maybe specify. Maybe it's not required, but suggested, or number of the properties, and the telemetry would be one of those.
Yeah, I don't know if you can use profiles for telemetry. By the way, I just want to update on the status. So we have a branch with the profiles in. You might have seen it, Rafal. Gautam on our side has done a lot of work in making changes to them so that ODIM actually passes. And it's on me to go through that stuff. So the bottleneck is me right now, but you should expect a new push fairly soon, where at least ODIM will clear. We had made some changes to some properties from mandatory to recommended and things of that nature. But we should also check if
Okay.
profiles can be used for metrics. I don't think so, but we can check.
Depending if you're using pull or push, right? For pull, of course, there are standard metrics like I mentioned, memory metrics or processor metrics, already defined by the spec. In terms of the metric reports, you're right. This is harder because you can restrict to support metric report, at least single endpoint, but then it'd be harder to, let's say, to subscribe what is the content, right, in this metric report.
Yeah, that could be the next step, to just do the standard metrics that are already defined by Redfish, right? But then you get into these type of problems that Bharat has exposed here, that if a certain vendor do not support the standard metrics, you might want to implement that in the plugin. And then if the plugin then is responsible of pulling that metric one time every second for thousands of servers, then you might have a problem.
Yeah, you have performance issues, or you have some logic in this plugin to take advantage of the metric reports and configure them on each of the servers, and they will push to some defined endpoint, right? But still, plugin would need to do some translation between the data model that is pushed by the BMCs and what is the model supported by ODIM.
Yeah, I think the proposition here to go and support whatever the vendors are supporting as far as metric reports in a first release, that is something we could have implemented in time for the August release, I'm thinking. So that is, I like that. I don't know how useful it is, but it at least we can use it.
Based on my previous experience working with customers, the most crucial one are the power thermal, and they should be stabilized and supported by all. And then the CPU utilization, memory bandwidth, those generic metrics, and then there's this problem of scale, because if you come up with this huge number of metrics you want to follow, it of course means a lot of storage on the message bus, a lot of problems when you want to do the let's say data lake, push it to the data lake for analytics, for the extended period of time. So yeah.
So but still, if we do those standard reports or those reports that are canned and already supported, I think that's a good first step. The question is, I don't think we can take that decision now. At least I will log the minutes, but I also know that Alex has a lot of viewpoints here, and he wants to take a more overall type of an approach to telemetry. But I think we can do that also. We just need to be able to release something at one point. We see a lot of interest from customers around telemetry. So
yeah, I would align with Alex internally. I think what his suggestion was to make sure that we have this, telemetry framework very generic. It's like you can hook in any framework or any message bus or any data bus, and it should be pluggable as it is, right? I don't think he has major objections on harvesting on the telemetry collection area, but I will follow up with him and come up with the, let's say, unified Intel response.
But Ravel, Alex was also very keen on this AI and having responsibility at various levels.
AI is good. AI is good. You can train algorithms, and then reference. But this requires you the collection and let's say storage to be implemented. And then you need to collect the data over extensive period of time before you can even train any models, right? So there's this problem of the day one where we need to come up with a framework for collection and storage, and then we should focus or make a decision how we expose it to the upper layers, whether we expose the data spout like Kafka, because it makes sense. You want to enforce metrics on Nordband interface via Redfish, right? It doesn't make any sense because you already store them in some database.
But the analytics and stuff can also be a northbound function, right?
Yes.
So anyhow, I think we have a good approach here. I'll try to write it up, and then Rafael, if you want to follow up with Alex internally as well, that would be good.
Okay.
And then, you know, I think we need more discussions and where is the spec falling short and how can we improve it? That's certainly something that we need to drive. Anything more on the telemetry for today? I want to allow time to Muthu for the composition service as well.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to do what Rafael said, you know, like whatever canned reports are there from the device, if we can get that, then that could be the first thing which we can definitely aim for August, and the rest will be continued discussions which we can take later.
Yeah, agree.
Yep.
Muthu, are you prepared to talk about the composition service at all? Did we post anything with the MTF? Did we hear anything back or?
No, actually, in last week in our meeting, it was told that Alex will come up with some plans today, and we will review it this week. I have not, because in the beginning of the meeting, we were discussing about AMI can post directly to the DMTF feedback forum.
Portal.
But later, at the later point of the time, we discussed about Alex will come up with some inputs us, and we are planning to go with the ODIM TSC, propose these new features. So
yeah, okay. Yeah, he had a point. Let me consult my notes here. He had a point there about what's here proposal. What if we want to go and add a new type of resource? There is no way we can do that now. Can we have a model to do that? We should add this as a separate use case for DMTF. Okay, yeah, that is actually true. So we have the use case you have identified, Muthu, and then we needed this new use case from Alex then to add new type of resources.
yeah.
For instance, a GPU he brought up. Okay, so that and Alex is not going to show up today, so I'm not sure we are going to get in much progress on that one.
Do I need to post the feedback, whatever the resource blocks, or we will wait for Alex input and we will go ahead with after Alex?
Could you reach out to Alex either directly or via the TSC mailing list or Slack or however you want to, and see if he's ready to send out this use case. Otherwise, I think we should go ahead and post the rest, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because if he's not ready to do it fairly quickly, I think DMTF composition task force are aware of that. We will come in with some use cases, so we can't really week after week not do it, I guess.
So if I need to post, do I need to ask questions, or I need to ask this as a proposal, new?
Yeah, I think it's more like that you ask them consider these use cases, and then at the end you can also write something on what you think that will mean to the spec, because you had some scenarios, right, where you had some posts, and I think specifically it was on one collection we wanted to change it to it was insertable and editable and removable or deletable or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you can write that proposal in an email and send it out on the TSC mailing list if you like, or just send it directly to the MTF. But I'd probably send it to TSC mailing list first, and then we respond. I think you have, so I don't know how, I have never written anything on the feedback portal.
Yeah, even I haven't done anything so far. It's new to me.
Yeah, so we need to look at how it, if it's a forum or if it's just an email or what it is. And then if you do that and then send it out
I
on
saw it's
TSC.
a portal. Last time, some time back, I looked into it. It's a portal, and we can like ask like there are so many different topics. We need to really choose a exact topic. We wanted to post our questions, and we can ask us like a query. I'm not sure when we add a new post if there are any categorization is possible. What type of query it is, whether it's a bug or a question or feature enhancement. Those things I haven't looked into it, but it's a kind of feedback portal. It's a portal, and it's a forum, and we can like post questions over there and comments over there.
Yeah. Okay, here I look at it now. Technology submission and feedback portal, DMTF. Create the feedback portal account. Oh, shoot. Intellectual property rights agreement. Holy shit. Okay, accept. I need to log in. So you need an account there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that I know my credentials right now. I need to go look for those. Yeah, we can look at that then. Have you logged in, Muthu, or?
I logged in, but it is saying like our password is not matching now. I need to check that part.
Okay, so let's check this and see. I can check it as well, and then we communicate over the TC mailing list. If there are multiple choices we need to do there, we should agree, I guess, on those. But there should be a free form box as well where we can write up our use cases, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. We can wait for Alex if he is willing to get back to us fairly soon. Otherwise, I think we move on this one.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So let me just note that down. Use case. We will check with him. The exact language will be shared on the TSC mailing list. Before we submit. Okay. I noted that Alex was supposed to add a use case. We will check with Alex about that, but then we need to file this. The exact language will be checked. We will be shared on the TSC mailing list before we submit. So I think we do that this week then, if we can. I'll check today if I can get in there, and then we can share any confusions we have on the TSC mailing list. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else for today then?
I don't have anything for today.
All right. So that's a wrap then.
Yeah.
Talk to you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.